In this video, I'm going to be building the best $800 gaming PC build for 2022, featuring none other than this, Nvidia's RTX 3050, a budget GPU that's actually in stock, available at a decent price, and provides stellar 1080p gaming performance. In this full build guide, I'm going to run you through all the other parts that make this build possible, how to assemble them step by step from start to finish, before testing the build out later in the likes of Fortnite, Apex Legends, COD Vanguard, and many more. Let's do this! The new NZXT function mechanical keyboards bring NZXT into the peripheral market with a bang. With full-size TKL and mini TKL variants available, per-key RGB backlighting and Gator-on mechanical switches, they're an impressive lineup. Alongside swappable keycaps, you also get hot swap key switches. Amazing to see for you keyboard nerds out there. Check out the black or white colourways available now at the links in the description below. As with all of our build guides, I'm going to kick things off by installing the CPU into the motherboard. The motherboard is almost the beating heart of any build, as it provides the connections to the rest of your components and allows everything to work cohesively together. My choice today is this MSI MAG B660M mortar. Now, MSI's mortar range exists on their AMD and Intel motherboards and has been a personal favourite of mine for a number of years. That's because they typically come with some great features, and this design is no exception. You've got your LGA 1700 socket at the centre, supporting the latest Intel 12th Gen CPUs. You've got your integrated rear I/O with fantastic included connectivity, 2.5GB Ethernet, 3 10GB USB-As, and a 20GB USB-C, and integrated Wi-Fi. Give us a really solid feature set. Oh, and did I mention, we also get PCIe Gen 4 for our SSDs, and 4 RAM DIMM slots. Inside of the board, I'll be installing the CPU today, Intel's Core i3 12100F. Now James, a Core i3? Really? Yes. The new Intel 12th Gen chips are amazing, and AMD's latest releases on Ryzen don't show them to be catching up anytime soon. Though for all of our sakes, I hope that isn't the case. With 4 of Intel's new performance cores and 8 threads, it's got all the specs we need, with good clock speeds for single-threaded performance too. Locate the triangle on your motherboard's CPU socket. For us, it's just here in the bottom left corner. Pull up the retention arm, and then the socket will unfold from the bottom. Find the corresponding triangle on your CPU, drop it gently into place as the new socket can be a bit more delicate than the old one I found. Push the cover down, and the black plastic will fly straight off. Add in the retention arm for good measure, and that will make sure the CPU is not due to go anywhere. Now for this build's cooling solution, I'm actually going to stick with our i3's included stock cooler. It looks much nicer and performs much better than Intel's old cooler design, and saves us money, not having to buy a $20 or $30 aftermarket unit. To tell you the truth, I've popped this $30 saving into the motherboard, as I think a future-proof design with PCIe Gen 4 and more RAM DIMM slots is a much better quality of life choice than a slightly more expensive air cooler for now. In order to install the cooler, I've got to drop a dab of thermal paste on the CPU, as we've already used up the cooler's pre-applied thermal paste, and then we're going to click it into place. Remember to add your fan header in as well, to make sure the fan can spin and actually cool the CPU too. Next up is the RAM or the memory, and I've picked up this 16GB Vengeance RGB RT kit. I like the white accents on this one particularly, as the silver on the motherboard, and this will match up quite well, but they do a Vengeance RGB RS kit that is black rather than white. 16GB, 3600MHz, and a great value price point. Though for up-to-date pricing and availability, check out the links in the description below. We're then going to easily slide our RAM into place, making sure to align the notch on the RAM DIMM. That's this notch right here, with the notch on the RAM DIMM slot. That's this notch right here. Don't be fooled, it is slightly off-center, so you can't put the RAM in either way. It is only one way round, with our Corsair logo facing outwards. Once we've done that, the RAM is installed and we can move on to the final component of our motherboard assembly, as we dub it, and that is of course the storage. Now I've picked up XPG's Spectrix S20G, a 1TB Gen 3 NVMe drive with some respectable Gen 3 speeds that provide fast boot up times, more than 4 times the performance of the fastest SATA drives from last generation, and it even comes with some RGB. If you've got more money to spend, a fancy Gen 4 drive like the Firecuda 530 we recently reviewed on GeekaWhat.com is also a great shout. To install the drive, we first need to remove the included SSD heatsink. If your drive doesn't have a heatsink, most of the time it won't, you can then pop this back on afterwards, but because ours does, we're going to opt to remove it and leave it off permanently. You then want to slide the drive in at a 45-degree angle and fasten it into place with a small included M.2 screw. You get these in your motherboard's box. Fasten this down and that's basically all there is to it. And once your motherboard assembly is done, you can move on to the case or the chassis. I have just ripped that box very slightly in excitement, and that's for good reason. This is Coolmaster's TD300 Mesh, one of my favourite budget cases out right now. We featured it in a recent case video where we looked at the best chassis to buy in 2022, and with a tempered glass side panel, a nice polygon design at the front, and plenty of mesh, it's the perfect choice for this build. What I would advise you do with any case is strip these chassis down first. Get it down to its bare bones so you can actually go ahead and install the rest of the components a bit more easily. That includes taking off the rear and the front panels. I think these have captive thumb screws on as well, which means when you take them off, the thumb screws should stay in place. Oh, nice. That was easy. As was that one. There's our 2 side panels and we can lay the case down flat on the table to go ahead and install our motherboard a bit more easily. I don't want to sound like too much of a broken record, but what we need to do here is find our motherboard's holes first of all. And you can spot these really easily because of the massive white avoid collision circles. As you can see, there's 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, and 2 along the bottom. Now, because we're using a Micro ATX case, these should, in theory, all line up. Let's double check though, because it always pays to make sure. 3 at the top, they look good. Only 2 in the middle, so we're missing 1 right in the center here, and then the 2 along the bottom. Add in 1 in the center, because for some reason, that one's missing in our instance, and you get spare ones included with the case. Once you've done that, you can screw the motherboard in. You've got a built-in rear I/O shield here as well, because our motherboard's pretty fancy, saving you a step. Basically, all there is to it, nice and simple, screw by screw, and secure that motherboard into place. And once the board's in, we can deal with the other board in this build, and perhaps the more exciting board, the GPU. Now this right here is MSI's Gaming X RTX 3050. It's a good 3050 option with a nice 2-fan cooler, but to be honest with you, any 3050 you can get hands-on with at a decent price is what I'd recommend. Here in the UK, you can get some great options over at Ebuyer. They've got some really good stock levels of 3050 at some really good prices. I see that Newegg in the States is a similar thing where you can commonly pick up a 3050 for the $300 mark. And to be honest with you, if you're looking for a build at this budget, what are you waiting for? As far as budget GPUs go, the 3050 is one of the best options out there, with plenty of video memory, something AMD didn't quite conquer with their 6500 XT, support for Nvidia's ray tracing and DLSS. It ticks so many boxes, and it's going to look great in the build today. Now, as you can see, we've already got a couple of PCIe lanes missing. That's these rear covers just here, but I'm not quite sure whether they're the right ones. So I'm going to take the GPU and just hover it for now over the slot. That actually looks like the ones that have already been removed are in the right places. These are single-use lanes, meaning once you take them out, you can't put them back in. Bit of a bummer, but a cost-saving Coolmaster decided was necessary in the current market. Push back the clip on your PCIe slot, nice and simply. Slide the GPU in for real this time. Get that gold connector in the slot. And then click the GPU into place. You can see it's quite saggy at the moment, so we're going to fasten it down with a couple of screws and give it power in just a second when we go ahead and deal with the power supply. The specific unit I've selected is Coolmaster's MWE650 Gold V2. This is a fully modular unit that provides 650 watts of nice clean power. And with an included bag of power supply cables, you only need to plug in the cables that your system actually requires. You'll want a 24-pin motherboard power power cable, a SATA power harness, not for any SATA hard drives or SSDs in my case, but for the included RGB fan controller, a dual 6+2 pin PCIe power connector, we only need one of the 8-pin blocks, not two, and then to round things off, your CPU power connection too. Pop all of these into the fully modular interface on the power supply, and then screw this into the back of the case. Once it's installed, we can add in our CPU power connector to the top left corner of our motherboard, the motherboard power connection to the far right hand side, our 6+2 pin PCIe power connection to the GPU, and of course our SATA power cable to that rear included RGB fan hub, a little something like so. But that's not quite it on the cables and wiring front. You'll also need to plug in the front panel connections, which includes your USB 3 cable, the largest of the bunch, and it's notched. This powers, of course, the USB 3 ports on the top of your case. HD audio, which goes to the bottom left of the motherboard and has a pin blocked out, so once again, we'll only go in one way round. And then your power and reset switches, otherwise referred to as JFP1s. These go to the bottom right hand side of the motherboard, and the pins will only go in, once again, in certain layouts. We'll pop a diagram on your screen now to make this bit, hopefully, a bit easier. And with that, the build portion of the video is basically done. But don't go anywhere, because we need to see how the system performs in all of the latest titles, but first, how good it looks in an epic glam montage. I'll see you in a second, but first, roll that montage. Now that we've seen this build packs a punch in the aesthetics department, does it pack an equally powerful punch when it comes to performance? All of the P's. Well, in this section of the video, I'm going to run you through our results, starting off with a summary of all the frame rate info that we gathered from the 3050. We tested over 10 of the latest and most popular titles out there, everything from Fortnite and CSGO to your AAA next-gen games. You'll also find some temperature info on your screen now, which shows just how chilly our lovely 3050 stayed. The first game we're going to look at in more detail is GTA 5, one of the most popular titles out right now, even though it's getting on the older side. At 1080p high settings, we pulled in over 160 frames per second on average. We also tested 90 and 99th percentile frame rates for all games using NVIDIA FrameView and MSI Afterburner's Reaver Tuner to make sure the data lined up. In Battlefield 2042 next up at 1080p, we tested at high settings with DLSS enabled. Here we pulled in 112 frames per second on average, with 101 and 85 for the 90 and 99th percentile results. Even with DLSS off, all numbers were 60 frames or above, showing the 3050's power in even the most demanding titles. COD Vanguard is another one of those demanding games, and it's the next title we tested out. At 1080p high settings with DLSS enabled and set to performance mode, we managed to achieve just shy of 130 FPS. Showing potentially this system would work well too at 1440p. We've stuck to 1080p for our testing though, as we see it to be where the 3050 is ideally located. In Forza Horizon 5, the next game on our list, we tested the game using the inbuilt benchmarking mode, and this time pulled in 98 frames per second on average. 93 and 83 rounded off a nice set of 90 and 99th percentile results, while the game visually looked awesome. Moving on to Apex Legends next up at 1080p high settings. Here we once again saw some great frame rates. More than 100 FPS, 17 more than 100 FPS to be precise. Very definitively passing that triple figure frame rate. The 90 and 99th percentile results, which show how consistent the frame rate was, were also good and bottomed out at 90 frames per second. If frames per second is what you're really bothered about, our next title is sure to please you. It's none other than Valorant. At 1080p high settings, we pulled in 437 FPS. Nope, that's not a typo, at nearly 450 frames in Valorant. Wow. The penultimate game we tested out was COD Warzone, and we're going to round off with Fortnite in just a moment. Here at 1080p high settings with DLSS enabled and set to performance mode, we achieved over 100 FPS in the multiplayer battle royale. well. The game visually looked great, and the 3050 really punches above its weight at 1080p. This is demonstrated really well in Fortnite 2, the last title today. At 1080p competitive settings, everything down to low except the render distance, which is crucially set to far, we got over 200 frames per second. 202 FPS from a budget GPU. Wow. The game looked great actually as well, considering a lot of the visual fidelity settings were down to low, and the frame rate was awesome. That wraps it up for our gaming benchmarks today, and thus the whole video. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to drop a like rating, get subscribed. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.